To love staying at home is to understand the hidden strength that solitude grants. Most people fear being alone because in silence, their thoughts become loud enough to confront them. They run to noise, to gatherings, to distractions. Not because they enjoy them, but because they are terrified of meeting themselves. The one who chooses solitude willingly is not a coward hiding from the world. He is a ruler mastering his own kingdom, his own mind. The house becomes a fortress, a citadel of thought where the individual withdraws, not in weakness, but in strategy. Solitude is not an escape, it is a weapon. In the absence of others, you learn to hear your own logic without interruption. You discover how your mind functions when it is not shaped by the opinions of the crowd. In that quiet, you begin to see how influence works, how people crave approval, how they trade authenticity for belonging. The one who is comfortable alone understands this dance and therefore cannot be easily manipulated. When others depend on company to feel alive, the solitary one draws power from independence. The person who stays at home is not idle. Behind closed doors, the mind is at work constructing, analyzing, planning. The world sees them as reclusive, but they are, in truth, preparing. Their solitude gives them a vantage point to study life from afar, to measure people not by words but by patterns. Every conversation they once had, every human behavior they witnessed, replays in their mind with new clarity. They realize how predictable human desire is and how easily chaos controls the unguarded. This realization breeds calmness, and calmness breeds control. At home, the individual governs the rhythm of time. There are no forced smiles, no shallow exchanges, no interruptions to thought. The day bends to their will. This autonomy, though subtle, is immense power. In solitude, they can mold themselves without interference. They can cultivate habits that strengthen their intellect, discipline, and emotional balance. While the world chases noise and validation, the solitary one sharpens his craft. He is building an inner empire while others are distracted by external applause. Solitude also burns away the illusions of dependency. When one spends long hours alone, one learns that peace does not come from companionship, but from mastery over thought. The solitary mind becomes self-sufficient. It no longer seeks reassurance because it has learned to generate its own certainty. That is why people who enjoy staying home appear calm. They are not performing for anyone. Their actions are deliberate, their energy preserved for what truly matters. But solitude also tests the weak. Those who are unprepared for it feel it as isolation, not empowerment. They face their insecurities with no shield, their fears with no escape. Yet for the one who endures that test, solitude transforms into strength. It teaches emotional endurance, strategic patience, and mental clarity. It separates those who need the world to define them from those who define themselves. In a world addicted to noise, the one who can sit in silence holds an invisible advantage. They observe what others ignore, think while others react, and prepare while others rush. Solitude grants the highest form of control, the control of self, and the one who governs himself becomes immune to the governance of others. To love staying at home is to understand the art of control. Within their walls, a person becomes the architect of their reality. They command what enters their space and what does not. Every object, every sound, every moment of light exists by their permission. This control is not merely physical, it is psychological. It is the act of shaping the world to match the structure of one's mind. The one who stays at home learns to rule their surroundings, and in doing so, learns to rule themselves. The outside world is chaos disguised as society. It demands conformity, floods the senses with noise, and erodes focus with endless stimulation. To those who thrive in it, control is an illusion. They are swept by trends, moods, and distractions. But the one who stays at home does not drown in that tide. They create their own current. In their space, they dictate when the day begins, how the air smells, what voices are heard. This command over the environment cultivates a deep psychological steadiness. When the world cannot intrude, the mind grows clear and disciplined. The home becomes an extension of the mind, a reflection of one's internal order. The arrangement of space mirrors the hierarchy of thought. A clear desk reflects clear thinking, a quiet room amplifies focus. Every detail serves a purpose. The one who controls their surroundings eliminates unnecessary noise, whether physical or mental. They understand that to master the external, one must first master the internal. In controlling the environment, they control temptation, chaos, and distraction. They can turn their home into a fortress of productivity or a temple of reflection, depending on what the moment demands. This control also nurtures emotional power. In their chosen environment, one's emotional rhythm is their own. No unexpected interruption, No foreign presence can dictate their state of mind. The home lover learns to regulate their emotions with precision, unaffected by the emotional turbulence of others. They are not forced into false smiles or small talk. Their peace is not conditional, it is self-governed. The world outside thrives on reaction, but within the controlled environment, one learns restraint. Reaction is replaced by observation, and impulse is replaced by strategy. Such control breeds efficiency. When distractions are eliminated, time expands. The one who stays home learns the true value of hours and minutes. They are not at the mercy of noise or schedules imposed by others. They decide what deserves attention and what does not. Their mind becomes sharper because it operates within boundaries they designed. The home becomes not a place of rest, but a place of creation. It is where plans are made, ideas are refined, and strength is rebuilt. To command one's environment is to reclaim the power that society constantly tries to disperse. Outside, people are conditioned to adjust, to adapt to whatever energy surrounds them. But those who love their solitude have inverted this dynamic. They make the environment adapt to them. They understand that influence begins at home, in the quiet arrangement of their own domain. When every corner of their world reflects purpose, they move with clarity and authority. Nothing external can easily disturb the one who has mastered their internal surroundings. This command over environment extends beyond walls. It shapes how one interacts with the world when they choose to step outside. A person accustomed to order carries that order with them. They see through distractions. They navigate chaos without absorbing it. Their calmness unsettles others, for it is born from discipline, not chance. They do not seek control over others, because they already possess the highest form of control, dominion over their space and their state of mind. The home is their kingdom, and within it, every thought, sound, and motion answers to their will. There is a distinct power in watching rather than rushing to act. Those who love staying at home understand this instinctively. They are not driven by the same hunger for constant involvement that consumes most people. They stand back, quiet and deliberate, letting the world reveal itself through its own noise. Observation becomes their weapon and patience their shield. From behind the veil of solitude, they study the patterns of human behavior, the rhythms of ambition, the subtle movements of desire and fear that govern others. What most overlook in their haste, the observer sees with precision. Participation blinds many. The moment a person enters the crowd, they are swept into its rhythm. They stop thinking and begin reacting, trading awareness for belonging. The one who observes, however, stays untouched by this fever. From a distance, they witness how easily people betray their own intentions, how emotions expose weakness, and how predictability rules human action. Observation gives clarity. It teaches not only about others but about the structure of power itself, how influence flows, how manipulation works, how truth hides behind performance. The person who chooses to remain at home does not withdraw out of fear. They withdraw to see. The isolation grants them perspective, free from the distortion of proximity. From afar, motives become clearer. The observer notices how people seek attention more than purpose, how they perform sincerity while pursuing advantage. In solitude, one can map the architecture of social behavior, the hidden hierarchies, the silent competitions, the desperate need for validation. Observation turns into knowledge, and knowledge becomes the foundation of control. To observe effectively requires detachment, and solitude provides exactly that. Without the pressure to impress or conform, the homebound thinker becomes objective. They see others as they are, not as they pretend to be. Each interaction, no matter how small, becomes data. Every word carries weight, every gesture a signal. This practice sharpens the mind to an unnatural degree, allowing one to anticipate outcomes before they unfold. When others act impulsively, the observer already knows their next step. Observation also cultivates restraint. The one who watches learns not to waste energy. They realize that timing, not speed, defines success. They understand that silence can command more influence than noise. By refusing to participate in every spectacle, they preserve their strength for decisive moments. This makes their eventual actions far more impactful, because they emerge from understanding, not impulse. The observer's power lies not in constant motion, but in calculated presence. Those who love their solitude see the world as a stage. While others rush to perform, they watch from the shadows, studying the play. They learn how authority is displayed, how weakness hides behind laughter, how ambition reveals itself in the smallest words. They learn to listen more than they speak, to question rather than declare. This detachment makes them unpredictable, and unpredictability is the root of influence. No one can manipulate a person who does not expose their emotions, who watches but does not react. The act of observing transforms the mind into a strategist's instrument. Over time, patterns emerge, patterns of greed, loyalty, deceit, and fear. These patterns become maps that guide decisions. Observation becomes a discipline that refines perception and strengthens judgment. It is not a passive act, but an active construction of understanding. The observer does not waste attention, they invest it. What they learn in silence becomes their advantage when action is required. Those who live by observation carry an invisible authority, for they see the truth others are too distracted to notice. To love staying at home is to possess a rare strength, the ability to exist without the constant emotional nourishment that society demands. Most people are dependent on others for their sense of worth. They require recognition, conversation, validation, and the steady reassurance that they belong. The one who thrives in solitude is different. They have severed that invisible dependence. They do not seek affirmation from the crowd because their value does not fluctuate with the opinions of others. This emotional independence is not coldness, it is freedom. It is the liberation of one's inner world from the unpredictable weather of external approval. Emotional independence begins when a person learns to generate stability from within. When the noise of the world fades, they are left with their own voice. At first, this can be unsettling. The silence exposes every hidden insecurity, every unhealed wound. Yet by facing these shadows, one develops endurance. The individual learns to comfort themselves, to motivate themselves, to challenge themselves. This self-sufficiency becomes an armor. While others rely on attention to feel alive, the emotionally independent rely on discipline and clarity. They can spend hours, days, even weeks alone without feeling abandoned, because they are complete in their own presence. This independence also changes how one interacts with emotion itself. The person who is emotionally self-reliant no longer fears solitude because they have learned to regulate their own state. Anger, sadness, and fear become signals, not storms. They can dissect their emotions without drowning in them. Such control creates a calm intensity that others can sense but cannot decipher. The home becomes a sanctuary where emotions are studied, refined, and mastered, not suppressed, but understood. Through this process, the solitary one becomes balanced, unshaken by external chaos. Emotional independence dismantles the need for performance. Many people spend their lives acting, projecting happiness or confidence to fit expectations. The one who is comfortable alone has no such need. They do not bend their behavior for approval, nor do they shrink to avoid rejection. Their self-worth is internal, steady, and untouchable. This makes them difficult to manipulate, for flattery holds no sway and criticism carries no sting. They listen to others but are not ruled by them. Their emotions are guided by purpose, not by reaction. In solitude, emotions become tools rather than obstacles. The independent mind channels passion into focus, fear into caution, and anger into determination. This transformation happens quietly, in long hours of reflection and discipline. The individual becomes their own motivator and confident, free from the emotional dependencies that keep most people bound to constant distraction. They realize that peace does not require approval, and happiness does not demand company. These realizations forge resilience. They can stand alone, not because they reject others, but because they do not need them to survive emotionally. Emotional independence also brings clarity in relationships. The one who does not depend on others for validation connects from choice, not necessity. Their relationships are built on respect, not on need. They can walk away from what does not serve them because they do not fear solitude. This gives their presence gravity. Others sense that their attention is deliberate, not desperate. Their affection carries more weight because it is not transactional. They do not chase, they select. They are not enslaved by emotion, they are its master. In a world where emotional volatility is encouraged and dependence is disguised as love, the ability to stand emotionally alone is a quiet rebellion. It is the assertion that one's peace is self-made. Those who love staying home have discovered this truth through experience. In their solitude, they have learned that emotions are powerful only when controlled, not when indulged. They move through life with a stillness that unsettles the restless, a steadiness that cannot be borrowed, and a strength that no crowd can imitate. The one who loves staying at home understands the power of restraint. They know that constant presence weakens impact. In a world obsessed with exposure, they choose precision. They do not enter every conversation, every gathering, or every opportunity that crosses their path. Instead, they wait, measure, and act only when the result justifies the effort. Their absence becomes their strategy. While others waste their energy trying to be seen, the calculated individual builds strength in silence, preparing for moments that truly matter. When they finally appear, their presence commands attention not because it is familiar, but because it is rare. Calculated engagement is the art of conserving influence. The one who practices it understands that visibility without purpose dilutes power. By staying home, by retreating into solitude, they recharge what others constantly deplete. They protect their focus like treasure, refusing to spend it on trivial pursuits. Their energy is not scattered across meaningless interactions. It is directed, concentrated, and deliberate. When they engage, it is never by accident. Every word and gesture is weighed for its effect. Their communication carries weight because it is not constant. To engage strategically requires patience and observation. The home is the ideal ground for cultivating both. In the quiet, they study timing, the most overlooked element of success. They see that most people act too soon or too late because they are driven by impulse. The calculated one acts only when conditions align, when the move will have maximum impact and minimum risk. They treat social interaction like a chess game. Each appearance, each silence, each withdrawal serves a purpose. Through measured participation, they maintain mystery, and mystery is influence. The calculated person is not indifferent to the world. They simply refuse to be consumed by it. They know that power is not gained by constant motion, but by selective action. Every decision to engage is a decision to control perception. They understand that humans value what they cannot easily access. By limiting their presence, they heighten their value. Their absence makes others curious. Their silence provokes speculation. When they finally step into view, people listen, not because they demand attention, but because their restraint has built anticipation. Such precision also guards their peace. The more one engages, the more one is exposed to the instability of others, their emotions, their noise, their demands. The one who loves staying home has learned to minimize these intrusions. They interact on their own terms, choosing only what benefits their purpose or aligns with their vision. This autonomy gives their life structure. Their time is spent on creation, learning, and strategy rather than reaction. The world's chaos remains outside, unable to breach the boundaries they have built through discipline. Calculated engagement transforms how one relates to both time and people. Time becomes an ally, not an enemy. The individual understands that to act less often is to act more effectively. Every move becomes sharper because it is born from preparation, not from pressure. They learn to wait without frustration, to observe without judgment, to act without hesitation. Their patience is not passivity, it is anticipation. They are not absent because they are weak, but because they are deliberate. This deliberate nature extends beyond behavior into identity. The one who engages strategically does not feel the need to announce every plan or emotion. They move silently, letting results speak. Their restraint unsettles those who thrive on noise because silence cannot be predicted. It is this unpredictability that shields them from manipulation and grants them leverage. The fewer people know about their intentions, the less control anyone has over them. To live this way requires immense discipline, but the reward is unmatched. The one who practices calculated engagement becomes both invisible and influential. They conserve their attention, protect their energy, and strike only when the outcome serves their design. Every retreat is a setup, every silence a preparation, every word a weapon carefully unsheathed. Their life becomes a sequence of deliberate moves, each one chosen, never wasted. In a world addicted to constant participation, their restraint becomes their greatest source of power. To love staying at home is not to flee from the world, but to master the forces that rule it. Those who embrace solitude understand that true power is not found in noise, but in the quiet shaping of the self. Within their walls, they learn discipline, control, and perception. They refine the mind until it becomes a weapon, sharp, deliberate, and unshakable. While others seek meaning in motion, they find it in stillness. They cultivate focus where others chase distraction. They do not waste energy trying to impress. They invest it in becoming formidable. Such individuals know the strength that comes from commanding one's environment, the insight born from observation, and the peace that rises from emotional independence. They understand that the world rewards the loud, but is governed by the silent strategist, the one who chooses action over reaction, precision over presence. In solitude, they learn patience. In patience, they gain clarity, and in clarity, they find dominance over themselves and influence over others. The person who loves staying at home has unlocked a truth few dare to confront. that the greatest empire to conquer is one's own mind. When that empire is ruled with wisdom and restraint, no external force can truly disturb it. The world belongs not to those who shout the loudest, but to those who think the deepest, act the least, and understand the most.